Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Smart Networks and Services Joint Undertaking Info Day and Brokerage event for our 2026 call for proposals. My name is Pavlos Fournogerakis. I'm Deputy Head of Programs in the SNS JU, and I will be moderating today's session. In fact, it is a real pleasure to see such a strong interest and participation, active participation from our community across Europe and beyond. So we already have more than 350 registrations and more than 35 expressions of interest for the pitch event in the brokerage session. So I think it is really, really important for us to show this strong interest. So today's event has two clear objectives. First, during this Info Day session, we aim to provide you with a clear and practical overview of our call for proposals that we opened a few days ago on 29th of January, including all the strategic and context, the policy and industrial context, but also the call topics and the technical content and the call conditions for participation. Second, in the afternoon brokerage session, we will move from information to interaction. So we will give you all the potential applicants the opportunity to provide a short pitch, to exchange ideas, and eventually start building a strong consortia for our call. So before we begin, just a few practical points. I hope you can, yes. It works. So the event is being recorded. So many thanks also for the SNS Call project team for their support, the technical support on this and the website update. And all the presentations and recordings will be made available to the event webpage shortly, in a few days. Please keep your microphone muted at all times, unless, of course, you are speaking. And you're encouraged to use the chat to post questions during the presentations. We have a lot of colleagues that will try to answer directly in the chat, even myself, when I have the time. But of course, there will be dedicated Q&A sessions, and you can raise your hand and we will give you the floor so that you can post your question. So let me now briefly walk you through today's agenda. We will start with the policy and the industrial priorities of 2026 call and the latest state of play, together, of course, with the orientations. And then we will continue with the call topics, the conditions, and the guidance, of course, from IDEAL-IST and the National Contact Point Network regarding the support they can offer to applicants. So we're very happy to have the colleagues from European Commission, 6GIA, the NCP representative, of course, and of course the SNS JU colleagues, who will all guide us through the ambitions and the objectives of this call. Without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Miguel Gonzalez-Sancho, who is head of unit for future connectivity systems at DG Connect in the European Commission, who will set the policy and the strategic context for today's discussion. So, Miguel, you have the floor. Thank you.
Thanks, Pablo. So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to speak on behalf of the Commission at the opening of this Info Day on the new SNS JU Call for Proposals and the Work Programme 2026. I have no slides to present, so it will be just talking from me. I don't know if it's good or bad news to you. Anyway, it might make some a bit more attentive to what I will say, hopefully. As you know, the European Commission is one of the two members of the SNS JU alongside 6G Industry Association, who will speak later right after me. And the Commission attaches great importance to the SNS public-private partnership that focuses on 6G research. And that is demonstrated by the substantial substantial funding, EU funding that is invested in the current MFF in SNS JU. And that's because the Commission is convinced, like many others, that advanced connectivity is key, essential for EU competitiveness and digital sovereignty and welfare in the EU. But we are not the only ones. As I said, there are other people who are convinced, all the governments as well, from the major world economies, from the US, China, India, Japan, Korea, Brazil, others, who are also investing in future connectivity as well at this moment. And I don't need to remind the audience today about the fast technological change that we are going through. Virtualization, softwareization of digital communications, the AI revolution, data explosion, all that. You know that, we know that. Since you are researchers in the field, there are many researchers in the audience, you know also that 6G is pivotal, will be pivotal to the convergence between advanced connectivity, cloud, AI. So you know about the importance of 6G, of course, that's why you're here. From the European Commission, I can only stress also the policy relevance of this technology transformation that I mentioned for the society and for the economy and the importance of 6G. Making the most of that and being on top in this race of fast technological change requires quite a few things that must come together. So excellent research, of course, but then influence in global standardization processes. Spectrum allocation is very important. Pre-deployment trials and pilots, and also eventually, achieving impact on the market. And that last point is important. With 6G, we have to learn the lessons of 5G. There is broad consensus that we need to, in future, complex specifications that take a long time to impact the market and be monetized must be avoided somehow with 6G. As you know, well, the pace of technology and market transformation is accelerating. So Europe needs to build and apply its capacities in the domain of connectivity as soon as possible. And I must do it now. So we cannot wait for the new things that are coming, adoption of Cloud and AI Act, the entry into force of the Digital Networks Act, the next MFF, the successors to SNS JU, and other things. So all those things are important. They will be important, but we must mobilize already now the assets on advanced connectivity that we have in Europe already. So excellent research, we know that. Top industrial players and SMEs on connectivity technology, and a big market with many companies from big to small public authorities that use the technology. So let's go for it. Now I turn to this specifically to 6G research and this new call for proposals. So it will be a smaller call, as you know, as it will be presented later, a smaller compared to others, but nevertheless quite important, and also regarding the links with and the contribution to policy, to EU policy. So the actions, they will be explained in detail, the objectives coming up, but from a broad perspective. So they range from making the most of past and future SNS results to address strategic domains like artificial intelligence and digital devices, and also to support international cooperation. So you will hear about all that later, all the details about this call under the Work Programme 2026. This call is a new step in what is already a successful journey of SNS JU that has the merit of bringing together stakeholders to develop research and innovation on 6G, do test beds and contribute to standards. These good results so far are possible due to the good cooperation between the private and the public sector at EU level, between the 6GIA and the European Commission. Also, of course, by the outstanding work of the staff of the SNS office, SNS Joint Undertaking office, who I'd like to thank publicly for all their past and future efforts in making SNS a success. But all that said, the impact of SNS is ultimately resting on the quality of SNS projects, on the researchers behind who shape the technology and doing that shape the world of tomorrow. So I'd like to conclude by thanking all the researchers and the other people also present here today, and all the researchers and general people that have been working so far in SNS projects. I encourage you in the audience present here today to seize the opportunity of this new SNS call that will be presented today, to prepare excellent proposals, and I wish you good luck in the evaluation. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Miguel, for setting out this the policy context and strategic priorities for European Commission that underpin this SNS JU call. So now to complement this policy perspective and important words from Miguel, it is important also to hear the broader industrial vision for Europe's leadership in 6G and the industrial perspective behind this call. So it is therefore a pleasure to invite now Colin Willcock, Chair of the SNS JU Governing Board, Chair of the 6G Industry Association, and Head of Research Alliances at Nokia. Colin, over to you.
Thank you very much, Pavlos. So welcome everyone to this important event. Clearly, this work program 2026 is wonderful that we're now at the stage we can share the information and also have this brokerage event to try and get the maximum participation going forward. This is, as has been mentioned, not one of the larger calls. It's perhaps one of the limited calls in terms of SNS JU, but nonetheless, it's really important and pushing forward some key areas which will be looked in more detail in the following presentations. I didn't want to have a long talk at this point because I don't think you're probably here to hear my voice. I think you're probably far more interested on the actual contents of the call, understanding where it's coming from, understanding what's expected in the proposals, and obviously starting to build those key consortiums to make compelling proposals, which hopefully will then win the funding going forward. Maybe just one point to make is that we'll be following up this work program 2026 with a far larger 2027 call. And that actually will pretty much complete the calls for this round of SNS JU. So we have these two calls. I'm sure Erzsébet will go into some of the time frame here, but broadly, we are heading towards the end of this program. We feel it's been a very successful program for Europe, for European industry, for European ecosystem, including the research and the research institutes and academics. And we are very pleased with the results we're seeing. And we will certainly be, together with the SNS JU office and the European Commission, broadcasting some of those excellent results we've got. But we are not thinking that's the end of the story. So we're already actively working with the European Commission and also the SNS JU office, trying to find a place in the next framework program in FP10 for a expanded SNS JU, a new partnership with expanded scope in terms of technologies and an expanded scope in terms of product timelines that we can hopefully take that more towards large-scale trials. The first indications are positive, but there's still a lot of work to do, and we will obviously inform more when there are some definite results. So this is an important call. It's great that you're here. I wish you every success in consortium building, proposal building, and in the evaluation. But it's part of a continuing story. We have an even more exciting call coming in 2027, and hopefully many more calls in a following partnership after that. So with that, I'll hand back to the moderator. I wish you a great day.
Thank you very much, Colin, for bringing this industry and the ecosystem perspective, but also for highlighting the future plans and the progress towards a more expanded SNS scope. So we will now move from this high-level industry vision to the current state of play of the SNS joint undertaking, looking at what has already been achieved and its progress towards 6G full system, as we say. So it's a pleasure to invite Erzsébet Fitori, our Executive Director in the Smart Networks and Services Joint Undertaking, to present the SNS JU state of play and ambitions. So Erzsébet, the floor is yours, but I will share the slides. So just give me one second to share the slides.
Thank you very much. Whilst Pavlos is projecting the slides, please let me also welcome you to this important event. What I would like to do is very briefly summarize before we go into actually the opportunities of our new call, what we have achieved so far, what our projects have achieved so far, and where we are on the journey of SNS JU under the current multi-annual financial framework. First of all, just to echo, I think the strategic orientation of both the European Commission as well as the 6G Industry Association. What we are really trying to achieve with our program is to close the innovation gap in advanced technologies, notably in the development of 6G, and we are already thinking about, I think, further tools that could improve the competitiveness of the European connectivity sector, as well as the sectors which rely on connectivity. If we move to the next slide, just to recap, that in order to deliver the desired impact in terms of competitiveness and also socio-economic progress, we need to look at the full chain, if you like, from moving from research and innovation towards standards, technology development, deployments, competitive products, monetization opportunities, and ultimately a commercial success which serves well both the end users as well as those who invest in the technology. This is the virtuous cycle that we are trying to support with our program. So where does our program stand today? On the next slide, you can see the key technology areas for economic security. These are the technology areas identified by a European Commission communication. And you can see that advanced connectivity is both a critical technology, but it is also very strongly interlinked with, or is enabling, or in some cases is enabled by the other critical technologies, which I think only shows how the technology landscape, and also including advanced connectivity, is becoming a more complex area where there are critical interdependencies between the different technologies, and where if one region is more competitive in one area, can have a very significant impact on its competitiveness in the other areas. Our core activity, of course, relates to advanced connectivity, but we actively actually work on the other areas. More than 2/3 of our projects are actually looking into the use of artificial intelligence for the enhancement of 6G networks, from cost efficiency to spectral efficiency to sustainability. We also build synergies with Chips JU in order to have cutting-edge semiconductors supporting future 6G networks. And of course, also the other areas reflect very prominently in our program, including the integration between non-terrestrial and terrestrial networks, and the possibility or creating the possibility for our project to access the European Space Agency's in-orbit and ground facilities. Moving on to the next slide, we would like to provide you with a very, very high overview of where we are today. So we have approximately 100 research projects in our portfolio as of today. And out of our total budget of 900 million euros of Horizon Europe funds, we have committed in these 100 projects approximately 630 million euros of public funding, which is matched by private investment in kind. Moving on to the next slide, I would also like to highlight the impact of our program. Our program, I think, very much having in mind the alignment towards policy objectives, including competitiveness and sovereignty, but also security, aligning and delivering on the UN SDGs. Our impact, our program impact, is measured against KPIs. What you can see on this slide is really a snapshot of where we are today against our KPIs. Some of the important ones that I would really like to highlight is more than 1,000 contributions to standards. Also, quite a big number of tests and trials with verticals, so really trying to build ecosystems with the other industrial sectors, which will actually benefit from advanced connectivity solutions. And also a lot of work on increasing energy efficiency and sustainability of the future 6G networks. The second slide that I would like to show with regard to the impact of our program is what we are very proud of is the top 10 key achievements. These are the top 10 key achievements of our Call 1 and Call 2 projects. And they actually showcase very important advancements in 5 categories. With regard to significant technology development, experimentation with experimentation, then vertical solutions and trials, impactful standard contributions, and sustainability solutions. What you see is really the top 10, but I think we are also very proud to say that 188 key achievements have been assessed in the context of this exercise from 63 projects. So I think what we really see is a very strong delivery against our programmatic level KPIs, and also very strong delivery from our projects when it comes to technology developments, breakthroughs, and really alignment, delivering on the strategic priorities with regard to industrial involvement or the Green Deal, for example. Then on the next slides, please. I would really like to conclude and hand over to my colleagues who will present what this call is really about. But I think just to recall that we are working in an environment of global competition as well as geopolitical uncertainty. As Miguel has referenced already, the global competition is intensifying with regard to 6G. What we observe is that other parts of the world are increasing their public investments in research and development activities with regard to 6G. What we believe in is that the public-private investment, the public-private cooperative model is a key tool for Europe to maintain its digital sovereignty and also increase its digital sovereignty for economic competitiveness, and also to ensure that European values are reflected in global technology solutions and ultimately standards. SNS JU, as has been mentioned, is the vehicle of Europe for 6G research and innovation. And I would like to invite you to actually join us and embark together with us on this journey, to be part of the European path to 6G, to apply to our next call, and also to stay tuned for the big call that Colin has mentioned, which we expect to open in a similar time frame, January 2027, with a much larger budget of around 230 million euros. So as Colin has said, this is a targeted call, essentially to recover our time frame, and we will have a last big bang call at the end of this multi-annual financial framework. Thank you very much for your attention, and I would like to hand over to my colleagues to share further details with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Erzsébet, for this comprehensive overview of the SNS JU state of play and the program's achievements to date, and the impact and the role, the strategic role of SNS JU as the European path to 6G. So we will now see how this vision and the priorities are translated into concrete opportunities for applicants under the 2026 work program. So the next presentation will introduce the orientations of the SNS JU work program and the rationale behind the selected topics. So it is therefore a pleasure to have to invite Javier Albares, Head of Programs of SNS JU, to walk us through this orientation. So Javier.
Yes, thank you, Pavlos. Thank you. Yes, I would like to walk you through the key orientations for the 2026 call for proposals of the Smart Networks and Services General Undertaking. So let's start first with the strategic context. The 2026 call is anchored in the guiding principles of Horizon Europe, as indicated, for example, in the latest 2025 to 2026 work program. These principles apply across all EU research and innovation activities, and they shape the direction of the SNS JU in a very concrete way. SNS JU, as Erzsébet introduced, is Europe's flagship partnership for 6G, and it covers research, innovation, and deployment readiness activities. With the 2026 call, also as Colin explained, we are going to enter the phase 3 of our program. This marks an important milestone for us, and it's going to be a transition from a previous phase, which was more focused on exploratory research, towards a more system-level integration, validation, and industrial readiness. This is a shift towards clear pathways to standardization and future deployments. At the same time, our strategic objectives remain unchanged, so strengthening European role in future connectivity, ensuring that our networks are secure, resilient, and trustworthy, and directly contributing to European competitiveness. Let me now turn to how the 2026 Halver work program has been co-developed. This work program has been co-designed through a structured and collaborative process. In its content, we have the luxury of integrating experts from both the public and the private sides, from the European Commission and from the 6G Industry Association and its membership. And they have been working closely with us, with the SNS JU team. This I think, multidisciplinary approach ensures that the program reflects the technology state of the art, the needs, the real industrial needs of our ecosystem, and Europeans' public policy priorities. The result, I think, is a program that is both forward-looking, but also grounded in implementation reality and fully aligned with the European Union objectives. So the 2026-2027 program. This is going to be a program that is going to be biannual, as Colin explained. I think is probably the main difference versus the previous calls that we have implemented, at least in the last 3 years. Within this structure, 2026 is going to play a foundational role. The content of the 26 call is designed to serve as the basis for a more ambitious call in 27, which will finalize the use of the funds allocated under the current P9 envelope. And altogether, we are going to invest more than 240 million euros in phase 3. This sequencing that you see in this slide is intentional, and what we want to fund in 2026 must demonstrate long-term value. It must consolidate progress, strengthen integration, and enable scale-up activities in 2027. That is why the time that we place this year in focusing on horizontal activities, such as coordination of program activities, standardization, AI tooling, and experimentation capabilities, can benefit the entire European connectivity ecosystem. And we are not going to be just focused on specific individual projects. So with all this introduction, this brings me to the key horizontal drivers of the 2026 call that will be structured around these 5 topics. My colleagues will later provide you a much deeper rationale of these 5 actions, but I just wanted to very briefly go through the 5 of them. As you can see, we have 3 CSAs. The first one is going to be focused on ecosystem building and support. We are going to prioritize even more those project coordination and knowledge sharing and strategic communication of program achievements. We are also going to be focusing on aligning with the standardization roadmaps to ensure coherence and cumulative impact across the SNS JU portfolio. The second CSA is going to be focused on 6G devices. I don't think it's a secret that Europe's sovereignty and competitiveness depends on a stronger presence in the device layer, particularly for industrial and vertical domains. And we believe that this is also a great opportunity for the European microelectronics and software ecosystems. As I said, we are going to have much more details in the rest of the morning. The third CSA is going to be on international cooperation with India. India is one of the largest, if not the largest, and fastest growing telecom market. It's also a major hub in software, and it's also an increasing influential player in global standardization. Enhanced cooperation with India will also support open strategic autonomy of Europe and aligns fully with the objectives of the EU-India Trade and Technology Council. With these 3 CSAs, I think we are going to be planting the seeds of a much stronger program in 2027. Additionally, we have 2, let's say, more traditional projects. The first one is going to be focused on AI network datasets. AI is not a secret, it's expected to play a central role in 6G. Most of our projects are already working on this. It's going to be present in all layers of the future 6G architecture. And the availability of high quality datasets is essential to enable this transition toward these future AI native, sustainable, and secure 6G systems. And finally, the last action will be focused on experimental infrastructures. We need to enable system-level experimentation in close to operational environments. Obviously, we want to build on the previous phases of SNS to support validation, scalability, and very importantly, future monetization, as Erzsébet explained just 1 minute ago. Our 6IA colleagues are going to give you a much detailed presentation of this, but this is just an introduction. So with all of this, what do we expect from 2026 proposal? Well, we are looking for many things. So this is, I think, what we would like to have. Number 1 is technological leaderships. Obviously, this can be demonstrated through engagement in standardization activities and the use of pilots and demonstrations. We also expect clear contributions to European sovereignty and resilience. We really would like to reduce dependencies and strengthen European value chains. We would like also to have meaningful innovation, and innovation that is proven through industrial uptake, a strong SME participation, and collaboration with vertical sectors in real use cases. We expect also a high level of ambition in terms of global influence, particularly in international standardization. I think we have mentioned it several times today. And we finally expect proposals to clearly articulate the societal value that they can create. We want to support socioeconomic progress, sustainability, and inclusion. So let me now say a few words about what makes a strong proposal. All proposals will be evaluated against the standard Horizon Europe criteria. As you know, is focused on technological excellence, impact, and quality of efficiency of implementation. However, the way these criteria will be evaluated will differ between the coordination and support actions and the research and innovation actions. For the CSAs, excellence lies in developing a strong strategic rationale, a credible coordination logic, and a solid methodological approach. Impact focuses obviously on enabling policy and industry alignment and delivering concrete ecosystem level outputs. And finally, implementation will require very clear deliverables, effective stakeholder management, and balanced budgets. On the other side, the projects that are going to be more focused on research and innovation actions, for them, excellence is going to be demonstrated through innovation, a realistic ambition, and openness and modularity. This is, I think, is going to be increasingly important for all of us, how to build on top of what we are finding with the projects this year. Impact will depend on finding clear pathways to exploitation, as always, adoption and standardization. And finally, implementation might be coherent with a strong consortia, logical work plans, and appropriate resources. Pavlos is going to give you a much detailed analysis of the additional conditions, including the generation of ICOP and the participation of SMEs that are going to be different, but this is just an introduction. So let me conclude just thanking the interest of the community for the continued commitment on the SNS program. I want to echo the comments from Miguel previously. The activities of this community are essential to strengthening Europe's capacity to transform research and innovation into industrial strength, global impact, and digital leadership. The deadline for this call 6 is going to be the 29th of April, 2026 at 5 p.m. Please don't wait until the very last minute. I think we had a couple of examples in which things were at the very last, and it's not a good idea. And we would like to wish you every success with your proposals, and we look forward to shaping Europe's future connectivity together with you. Thank you, and back to Pavlos.
Thank you very much, Javier, for outlining the key orientations of the SNS Research and Innovation Work Programme for 2026. And now the next intervention will walk you through the specific topics under the call for proposals, including the objectives, the scope, the expected outcomes, and providing essential guidance to all of you whether you're trying to prepare your proposal ideas. So I would like to invite Alexandros Kaloxylos, who is the 6GIA Executive Director, to present the detailed topics of the SNS JU call. Alex, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Pablo. I hope that you can see my slides and you can hear me.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. As Colin says, this is half of the work that I have to do. Many thanks to Javier for setting the scene. Very good presentation. It makes my life a lot easier. Before I start, I would like simply to say that the call that you see is the result of a complex process that involves a lot of people from DigiConnect, from the SNS office and the Six Industry Association. And I would like to thank all the colleagues because we have put a lot of effort. We always try to be as open and inclusive. We are using consultations. We listen to the views from the various stakeholders. I think this is very important to ensure that the process is open and competitive. Do not be shy to use the chat during my presentation. I will try to answer all your questions either online, and if it's not possible, as we do every year, we will process any remaining questions offline, and potentially this, if it is needed, the frequently asked questions section that serves this call will be updated. Do not forget to always have a look at the frequently asked question, which is already online. Okay, now starting, following what Javier was saying, we can categorize this, the projects, the proposals for projects in this call in 3 categories: the consolidation and visibility of the SNS JU results, essentially the operational CSA project, but also we have calls related to future industrial capabilities and how we can further improve them. This is the call related to devices, the AI, and the testbeds, and of course, the international collaboration is always front and center. This year is going to be with India, and in a couple of the calls, it's going to be also with potential outcome that can be used from standardization bodies. Now, moving to the next slide, this is the big picture. Already you have seen what is on the table. You have the call of the text. As Javier said, we have 3 CSA projects. Of course, for these CSA projects, the TRL level is not applicable. The funding rate is 90% for industry and SMEs. It's always 100% for the academia and the research centers. A couple of things that I will hear me repeating. The first CSA, you need to be aware that the target is for a duration of 2 years. This is for the operational CSA. For the CSA related to 6G devices, the duration is up to 2 years. It's open for the proponents to select about EU and India. And then I have marked these 2 projects with red squares simply because although the projects about the collection and generation of data sets to be used on AI is under stream B, it's an innovation action. So the funding rate here is 70%. The TRL level is, as you see here, up to 7. And this is the reason for having this call as an innovation action, because we target to have something on really high TRL, something that is going to be used right after the completion of the project from various stakeholders. On the Stream C project, about the experimental infrastructure, here the action is area, research and innovation action. That's why you see 90%. And the reason is that apart from making use of the very good results that we have already from existing platforms, either from SNS projects or even from national initiatives, there is still some room for further integration and further testing. If we look in more detail on the CSA on the operational support of the SNS JU, this is quite similar to the text that you may have seen in the previous calls. So it's about supporting the whole community in various activities under what we have the steering board, the technology board, and as well as specific dedicated SNS JU working groups. The project should also collect and evaluate the key performance indicators of the whole program. So it is like what Erzsébet was showing before, all the KPIs of the program in terms of publication, patents, input standardization, events, etc. But also a collection and analysis of the 6G KPIs that come up from the projects. And it's not only the typical network related KPIs, but it's also about the key value indicators, these indicators that are related to sustainability. Now, international collaboration is also part of this project, together with potential cooperation with national authorities and national initiatives. So there is going to be a strong link again with the SRG and try to have a map and a cartography of what is happening all over Europe with vertical sectors and vertical associations and any other relevant European bodies and initiatives. This I have already mentioned about the Europe-wide cartography of the initiatives and the activities that they are doing and how these are aligning or not with the SNS JU activities. The communication and promotion of results, Also, quite important, the support of the organization of EU CNC and 6G Summit for 2027 and 2028, and the support of the translation of the research output into standardization activities, and an alignment of what SNS JU is providing and how these are aligned with standardization activities. As a reminder, the project duration is going to be 2 years. So there is a maximum for this project. Now, on the 6G devices, we all know where Europe stands today in terms of smartphones. The key output that is expected from such a project is a roadmap towards 6G devices and also an implementation strategy. So what Europe can do and what are the opportunities and the challenges that Europe is facing, what we can have as a roadmap for the next step. And this project is expected to act like a bridge for a potential future initiative under the next MFF. As Colin said, this is an ongoing process, but still, no matter what will happen in the next MFF, the outcome of such a project is quite important, and I'm pretty sure that the public side will take this into consideration. There is a similar example in the past, for some of you that you may remember, with Connect. It was about microelectronics, and indeed the outcome of this project has been reused. So it's quite important. The scope of this project includes a structured dialogue between the telecom industry, microelectronic industries, vertical industries, and also in institutional players for the security, to preserve the security of the public sector. The identification of key use cases and what are the core requirements in terms of storage, computing intelligence, and connectivity. A SWOT analysis of where we are in Europe in terms of technological competitiveness for 6G devices. Identification of new technologies, also considering microelectronics, so what we can do. Because indeed, in some cases, Europe is behind, but there are several cases where Europe has still strong expertise, and we need to capitalize on that. 3 basic scenarios that are expected to be examined by such a project is for terrestrial network devices that correspond to strategic verticals. A second scenario is compatible devices for terrestrial and non-terrestrial networks, and potentially the integration of Wi-Fi for indoor scenarios. And finally, for high-end smartphone-like devices, but these mainly as benchmark scenarios. It would be great to have an option-dependent roadmap, so various alternatives if possible, preferably based on open solutions where this is going to be applicable. The consideration of AI, as Erzsébet was saying, AI is a key area in all the topics. In this case, when we are discussing about devices, especially at the edge. Also, eco-friendly device design. That's part of the sustainability saga. Software development ecosystem, and the identification of relevant national initiatives. Always in this SNS JU, they say that there is always this view in mind to have cooperation between SNS JU and the national initiatives. The project duration, as I was saying before, is up to 2 years. The third one, CSA, is about EU and India. The idea is to identify what is the ecosystem in India, what are the opportunities for collaboration. So it's important to analyze what is the industrial ecosystem in this region, what India foresees as a key priority for their work, how this can be combined and have a joint exploratory of the vision for 6G in terms of technologies, platforms, and socioeconomic aspects. Always the monetization part, but also the societal part are quite important in this kind of activities. The project could provide some ideas and roadmaps for possible future collaboration, alignments of views on potential collaboration at international standardization bodies. It's quite important for the proponents to describe how you plan to have this cooperation within this project with Indian stakeholders. what kind of information you're going to exchange, how to share data, methodologies, how you plan to have exchange visits, discussion about test beds, etc. Of course, it is expected that the proponents should have a strong and demonstrated industrial understanding of the 6G ecosystem in India. Now, going into the Stream B project. This is very close to my heart because this project aims to solve a problem that we have been discussing in our community for years. The issue that this project tries to address is the following. There are until today, and I can say at a global level, high quality data that can be respected from the whole community, and these data sets to be used to train AI models. Now, we have a lot of activities already in the SNS JU, but of course, the data that are used are always dependent on the priorities and even pre-deployment or experimental infrastructure that the projects are using. That's why for this project, we are calling for high quality, either real-world datasets or from realistic deployment scenarios. That's why you see that the collection of these datasets include operational networks or digital twins or use of Gen AI tools or even experimental platforms or trials. But of course, these experimental platforms and trials need to indeed ensure that are quite close to real deployment. So not just one base station and one terminal. Additionally, the project called for a full protocol stack of open source simulators. These are needed to produce correlated reference datasets at different network layers and across different network points. And of course, this should cover multi-radio access technologies, multi-band operation, with quite close to reality and accurate propagation and channel modeling, include data about network anomalies or even attacks to ensure that we will have datasets to train the AI models for security. All these things are planned to create an open source framework and toolset to be able to generate realistic and synthetic data that are going to be used even after the completion of such a project. So it's not that we're going to have this project and the story will end there. The expectation is that this open framework will be used even after the completion of the project. The innovation, this is an innovation action. The TRL is up to 7. Additionally, as I said before, the SNS JU projects have a significant number of solutions and datasets already. There is already a process to collect all these datasets at the repository. This project is expected to do some further validation and quality assessment of the existing project datasets, so as to verify their accuracy, consistency, and completeness. Additionally, the project is expected to have a clear metadata definition and methods to verify that the data are valuable for the training of realistic AI models. It's expected to investigate how to further engage with standardization bodies and relevant open source community. This is expected to give the continuity that I was mentioning before, even after the completion of the project. And of course, the creation of tutorials and implementation and dissemination of the final outcome. We need to do the extra mile and ensure that the actual outcome will be used by a significant ecosystem all over Europe. I would like to bring your attention to the following. In order to have something that's going to be credible at the end, the topic expects proposals with strong industrial participation, where the proponents will have demonstrated AI and operational expertise. This is expected to ensure credibility, usability, and engagement with standardization bodies. Of course, academic institutions and RTOs can also complement the consortium, where their expertise will add extra value. And going to the last but not least is the experimental infrastructure, where we already have SNS JU experimental infrastructure, but also it's open for experimental infrastructure from national initiatives. And we're considering a wide range of technologies, as it's illustrated in the call. we are planning to have a well-defined catalog of experimentation and KPI reported tools covering several use cases. The key idea is to have a platform where several experimenters can play and see what they can do with this technology. We are not relying on what we have already from the SNS JU projects. We are talking about combining different solutions and create trial facilities that will, apart from helping the experimenters to gain knowledge, also demonstrate how good we are in Europe in the 4G technologies. There will be the possibility thus for contribution to expand the capabilities of the platforms. It is important to ensure security provisions for remote connectivity and provide plans for reusability in the future. The experimental activities are expected to bring the technologies from TRL 4 to 5 or 6. Technologies added to the platform needs to have a TRL 5 as a minimum, and experimental platforms are expected to have a TRL 6. Now, as time is passing, and I'm using a lot of time, very quickly, I would like to say the following, that the idea is, as I was saying before, integrate existing solution, give the possibility to experimenters to play with this and test the 6G solution, but this will be done without funding for experimenters. There is, however, FSTP for developers from current running SNS JU projects to integrate their solution in the platform. For this, also Pavlos will let you know later on, the overall budget allocated from the project is 20%, as you see in the call, and in the form of 50K grants to support such integration. And this is mainly for SMEs and academia, this FSTP. SNS project in phase 3 are expected to include integration and experimentation resources with the new infrastructure in their grant agreements. So you have to allocate resources from your grant agreements, and also pay attention that the solution from SNS JU Call 2027 project, the one that is going to be quite large, are not eligible for FSTP. Apologies for taking 5 more minutes from your time, and let me quickly try to check about potential, and I will need your help, Pavlo, because I could not read the...
Don't worry, Alex, of course, it's impossible to do both. So, by the way, thank you very much for this deep dive in the content. So we will now move to the first Q&A session. But I would like first to remind participants that you can raise your hand if you wish to intervene verbally, or continue posting questions in the chat, and we will try to answer them. So, Alex, there is, I mean, there are 2 questions that you have mentioned, you have touched during your presentation, but I think it is important to speak out. And the first one is about topic B01, and the fact that this the AI and dataset topic expects proposal with strong industrial participation, with demonstrated AI and operational expertise. And the question is, if this refers to telecom stakeholders only, or if it targets also vertical industries where AI-empowered 6G will be applied. I tried to answer, but please feel free also.
I think I quickly read your answer, and of course it's fully accurate. Indeed, verticals are also needed. The explanation is quite simple. We have, for example, telecom vendors with equipment that they are bringing. We have the operators, and they have data, or they can create close to real data from the operation of the networks, but also we need the verticals, because the verticals will provide information related to, for example, the traffic patterns of their applications. So all these things, end-to-end data sets are needed. And of course, it would be best to have them correlated. And here is where the simulator can play a role. The second one is, again, I think on stream B01.
It is relevant, but now this question is about the scale and significance that we mentioned in the expected outcomes, in the sense that we need to have multiple technologies, use cases, and verticals. So the question is the proposal expected to span multiple verticals and include data sets from different sectors? Yeah.
Yes, of course, the answer is yes, but of course it's also, if I may say so, Pavlos, and correct me if my understanding is not correct, but it's up to the proponent also to consider how many verticals they want to bring on board. depending on the resources, etc. But of course, the intention is to cover more than one vertical, definitely more than one.
Okay, two new questions, I think very valid as well. So if you can please confirm for C01 for the experimental infrastructures, whether the platforms are expected to reach TRL6 by the end of the projects, not from start.
Yes, indeed. That's also clearly mentioned in the call text.
Correct. I will afterwards. I will put the exact text on TRL so that we are fully aligned. Another question from Roberto. Are all the vertical specific data sets expected to be generated by the project, or is it expected the project to collaborate with other SNS projects that can provide additional verticals and assess their high quality data sets?
Great question, Roberto. The answer is, of course, both. It's up to for the proponents. Either you can create the data using one of the many options that I have presented during the lifetime of the project, or you can indeed collect this data from past SNS JU projects. The key point here is the high quality datasets. High quality datasets has to be what we were having in mind when we were preparing the text is that it has to replicate close to real operation networks. This is what I was trying to say before. There are several projects, and of course, it is quite valid what they have done, testing for a specific solution in a limited deployment, just one base station and 2 terminals. This, however, in the large scale, is not enough to validate that the datasets from such experimental platforms are the ideal solution to train AI models. So we need to have something close to real life operational networks as much as possible, of course. That's the high quality. That's the meaning of the high quality datasets.
Thank you, Alex. I don't see any other question for the moment. I don't know if anybody wants to intervene verbally in the session. I don't see any raised hand. Okay, perfect. I think we are fine for now. In any case, as Alex mentioned, you can always post your questions, and I will mention that in my presentation as well. Yeah, there's a question, a technical one, how to measure quality of data set and what is high quality, a definition of high quality.
The high quality is, again, that's a very good question. There is no strict definition of what is high quality. The expectation is, and that's why we are saying that the strong industrial participation from vendors, operators, and vertical industries is important. These are the people that have very good understanding of the operation of the networks and the applications, and a strong industrial participation will ensure that the information that they are going to provide is going to be indeed very close to real networks.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you, Alex. We also mentioned in the topic about accuracy, consistency, completeness. All these type of parameters are important for this, but indeed we leave it to applicants to define in detail what exactly we mean by high quality. Okay, I don't see any other question for the moment. So that means that we can move to the next presentation, which will be given by myself. Let me share the slides. Okay, I think it's also in full screen mode. Perfect. Thank you very much. So in the next presentation, I will try to go to deep dive into the call overview and the conditions that we have for this call after Alex's presentation on the content. So this before we go into the details on the conditions, some important material and some important things that you can see also in the work program. In terms of dates, the call has already opened. It opened on 29th of January 2026, and the proposal submission deadline is on 29th of April at 5 o'clock Central European time. It was mentioned also by Javier that you should not wait until the deadline to avoid any last-minute technical problems. We had a lot of cases with technical glitches and calls to support, to help desk. So we'll try to encourage you to submit well before the deadline. There's some material, must-read material before you go into the details of the proposal. Of course, all the details on the call, the topics, the content can be found in the Funding and Tenders portal. I include the links here. I have many links in this presentation so that you can have them afterwards when the slides are uploaded on the web page. But you can always find it under the SNS JU website under the current call for proposals. Another important document, of course, is the R&I Work Programme 2026, which was approved by our SNS JU governing board on 18th of December. And this is where you can find all the details, the context, but also the topics with the expected outcome, the objective, and the appendix. This is something that you have to see in particular, the appendix 1, which describes the overview and the call conditions and details all the different SNS 2026 call specificities. As also mentioned by Alex, some important background reading is the FAQ that we published last Friday. And it is regularly updated with questions by the applicants, but also from questions from this info day, but also from questions that we received directly by the applicants. So this is the link. And you're all welcome before you post any question to us to see if your question is included in the FAQ. Going to apologies, I think. Yes, this is the one. These are the topics at a glance. As mentioned, we have five topics. This is a small and targeted call this time. So you can see the different topics and the indicative budget. We practically target one project per topic. And we have different instruments, as you can see. So the topic B1 is an innovation action topic. C1 is a research and innovation action, and we have the 3 CSAs. In terms of funding grade, we follow the standard model that we use in all previous calls. So we have 100% funding, EU funding for non-for-profit organizations, and 90% for-profit organizations for RIAs and CSAs. While for innovation action, we follow the standard Horizon Europe model with 100% funding for non-for-profit organizations and 70% for profit organizations. So given that we have a specificity in the SNS in terms of funding for RIAs and the CSAs, this is what we ask you, like in the previous call. Given that the maximum funding rate in the budget table is set to 100%, which is the standard Horizon Europe practice, we kindly ask all the for-profit organizations to make a manual calculation, request only 90% of the budget. This will facilitate a lot our work later in the GAP process. In terms of call conditions, we need to reiterate that our call conditions are based on the general annexes for Horizon Europe. So this is our basis. The last version, 2627, was published early December 2025. So please have a look for the generic conditions that apply to our call. I also include the list of participating countries. This is important because we have an update 1st of January 2026. So you can see all the latest countries that are eligible for funding. And of course, you can follow the transitional arrangements with countries that are going to be associated to Horizon Europe. This includes the latest updates as the Republic of Korea Association to Horizon Europe, but it includes also details about Japan, Egypt, and others that are in the process. Even if we have the general annexes as the basis for our call, there are specificities, and this is something that we have in the appendix 1. We have all the amendments, all the revisions to cover the specificities of the SNS JU joint undertaking call, and there are specific conditions under admissibility eligibility, including also the restrictions on participation in accordance with Horizon Europe Article 22.5. We have the ICOP notion, the generation of ICOP in-kind contribution to operational activities, but also rules about SME participation, collaboration between projects, and financial support to third parties in C1, as Alex also presented. In terms of admissibility, and of course, the standard rules apply in terms of readability, accessibility, all the necessary forms, and so on and so forth. So these are the standard Horizon Europe rules, but there is a derogation to the maximum page number of the proposal. And the limit for a full proposal is 70 pages for EAS and EAS, Research Innovation Actions and Innovation Actions, in stream B and C. And for all CSAs, the limit is 50 pages. So this is important to mention one again, that this is the limit. Of course, we don't have to provide 70 pages or 50 pages in the case of CSAs. So you don't need to reach the limit to have a competitive proposal. So it is important that you include all the necessary information, but it can be less pages. In terms of in-kind contribution to operational activities, we have seen this is, of course, the sixth call of the SNS JU, so the community is already well informed. We have seen that in the latest proposals that we received in the previous call, that the community is starting to understand better the notion of ICOP. However, of course, we always have newcomers in our calls, with a big percentage of newcomers, more than 30% in each call. So it is important to make everybody aligned on the ICOP and what we expect from that. Just to start with definition that it is present in the Single Basic Act of the SNS JU. So ICOP is practically the eligible costs incurred by the partners, by the beneficiaries, less the contribution of the joint undertaking. We don't have, of course, so we don't have contributions by the member states, so it is only the joint undertakings. And what we practically mean by ICOP is that when we have a proposal, an area proposal, where the for-profit entity will get 90% of EU funding, then the rest, the 10% can fall under this category of ICOP. However, it is important to mention that ICOP can only be generated by entities belonging to 6GIA. This is important. So if there is a for-profit entity that is not a member of 6GIA, so this extra 10% or 30% in the case of innovation action cannot be considered as ICOP. This is an important tool for us to stimulate the private investment in addition to public investment, as requested in the JU implementation. And this is why we are very cautious on this. And we have it as an award criterion as well. It's not an eligibility criterion, of course, but it is an award criterion. So this is the table of the indicative ICOP level that we expect and the objective that we have in this call. This target takes into account some past average participation per type of beneficiary in all our previous proposals and selected projects and participation of entities. So considering this model, we have this indicative target for B. It will be 13.9%, for C topic 3.6%, and for the CSAs 2.4%. So the ICOP level is important. It will be an award criteria, the extent that the proposal reaches the ICOP target. But it is also a tool to break the ties. So if we have equally marked proposals, ICOP is included, and I will show you later one example of how we break ties using ICOP. So what applicants have to do, they all have to fill a mandatory ICOP declaration table. This is included in the application form in the technical description part B, and I will show you the table in the next slide. Before going there, just to focus a bit on the eligibility and more specifically on the restrictions on participation based on Article 22.5. So this is not the first time we apply this article. We have done it also for the 2025 calls, for calls 4 and 5. So this is practically the text of the Horizon Europe regulation and what Article 22.5 means. and refers to the possibility to limit the participation of specific entities that are not established in member states or in other countries. And here, this is important to mention, there are two different types. First of all, it refers to the establishment in member states, but the other point, the other paragraph, refers also to beneficiaries, to legal entities that are directly or indirectly controlled by non-associated third countries or other risky, let's say, countries. So this is something that we will apply for 2026 calls, not all of them, and I will show you afterwards the list. In terms of restriction, this is the justification that we have in the work program. It is important to carefully read this part on 22.5. And besides 22.5, we also have restrictions for the protection of European communication networks, as clearly stated in the general annexes. So what we highlight also in our work program is that entities that are assessed as high-risk suppliers of mobile network communication equipment are not eligible to participate as beneficiaries, affiliated entities, and associated partners. And of course, you can see the high-risk suppliers in the related Commission communication of the implementation of the 5G security, cybersecurity toolbox of 2023. The high-risk suppliers applies to all five topics. So what do we have in our SNS JU call? We have three separate cases. As mentioned, both part 1, the legal establishment, and part 2, the ownership, apply to 4 out of 5 topics. In topic B1, CSA 1 and CSA 2, the participation is limited to member states, to entities from member states and associated countries. In topic CSA 03, the India topic, the eligible countries are member states, associated countries, OECD and Mercosur countries, and India. And in topic C01, there are no restrictions in accordance with Article 22.5. However, note, as mentioned before, that restrictions related to high-risk suppliers apply for all topics. Now, in the first case of B1, CSA 1 and CSA 2, entities that are established in an eligible country, but which are directly or indirectly controlled by a non-eligible country or entity, may not participate in the action unless they can demonstrate by means of guarantees that are positively assessed by SNS JU and the member state that they cannot impact, they don't impact the union's strategic assets, interests, autonomy, or security. And of course, in line with the restrictions to high-risk suppliers, these high-risk suppliers cannot submit guarantees in this case. There are a lot of implementation modalities on how we do that eligibility and the checks that will be also required to the applicants. So the participants in the topics B1, CSA 1, CSA 2, and 3, so in 4 out of 5 topics, all beneficiaries, affiliated entities and associated partners have to fill the ownership control declaration that is annexed in the application form. I will give you, I don't go into the details who is going to sign, but please have a look in the FAQ. We have the detailed workflow and business process on how this will happen. Please note that this is important for us because if you miss that form, that template, your proposal may be declared inadmissible. Then, of course, the participants will undergo an ownership control assessment to determine whether they're eligible or not, but this will happen afterwards during the gap phase. And this all applies, of course, only for profit entities. Public bodies are exempted. Now, guarantees in the 3 topics that apply must be signed also by the participant. What is important is that at the proposal submission, if you know that there are risks or if there is an eligible country control, What we strongly encourage all the applicants to prepare the guarantees as part of the proposal. This will help a lot of time later in the gap phase. So I include all the guidance document. It's a very new guidance document that has been circulated just during this month, if I'm not mistaken. And there are two templates as of 2026, not only one common template. There is different template for the ownership control declaration and one for the guarantee. For your reference, I include here, of course, the summary of the eligibility and the restrictions, but for the interest of time, I will not go again into the details, but you can find it later in the presentation that will be uploaded. Now, moving on to the eligibility part, we also have two topics in this call with required minimum participation of 60 IEA. This is something that we have done also in our previous call, and we always intend to support the ICOP generation and, most importantly, partners' long-term commitment in the specific topics. Trying, for example, to collaborate with new players from AI and data science in B1. So this is why we have this type of restriction. So for B1, at least half of the budget should be implemented by 60 IEA members. And in C1, there's a similar rule, at least half of the budget should be implemented by 60 IEA members. In these specific topics, the applicants have to fill the mandatory table of compliance that is included in Part B, is together with the ICOP table that I mentioned before. Please do so, otherwise your proposal will be considered ineligible. And of course, you need to make sure that the above conditions, the 50%, the minimum participation is fulfilled. Otherwise, again, the proposal will be declared ineligible and will not be evaluated. Unfortunately, we had cases like that in the last calls, where we had strong proposals and a lot of effort clear effort by the partners, but we realized that this restriction could not be fulfilled. So all the other topics, the other three CSA topics are fully open, but of course, as mentioned, ICOP incentive applies. This is the ICOP declaration table, the table of compliance that I mentioned in the previous slides. So this is the table 3.1K in the application form, and it has to be filled for all participants in all topics. Even if ICOP is 0, the partner has to be included there. And of course, it will be the main, let's say, a table that we will check for the eligibility assessment of the topics that have minimum required 60 IEA participation. Now, in terms of SMEs, the target remains at 20% at program level. We are happy to say, of course, that we reached in all previous topics. We have even higher participation. We reached almost 25% as an average. So we're very happy with participation of SMEs. So we will continue the same approach. We will have a specific impact sub-criterion in the RIA and EAS, not in the CSAs. And this sub-criterion reads SME participation and opportunities to leverage project results. And the SMEs, of course, are used also for tie breaking. This is the example of RIA that I mentioned before. When we have two RIA or CSA proposals that are equally ranked, first, of course, we check the coverage criterion, second, the excellence, and third, the impact criterion. And then we go to the SME participation to sort out the ties. Of course, it's still inconclusive, which I don't think it never ever happened in the past. We go to the level of ICOP and compare the level of ICOP. Something that Alex has also mentioned, but it is important to reiterate, in C01, up to 20%, so not exactly 20, but it can be up to 20% of the budget of proposals has to be reserved for financial support to third parties for SMEs and academia. This is the cascading grants that many of you know. We already have projects in SNS JU from Call 1 and 2 that still run FSTP and open calls. And this is an excellent opportunity, as Alex mentioned, to have technology developers from current running SNS JU projects to integrate the technologies in the platform, so providing some extra support to expand the 60 capabilities. experimenters are not eligible for funding, again, as mentioned by Alex. But of course, they're free to participate at their own interest and own resources, and they're free to use the platform to run the experiments. The beneficiaries may provide this FSTP in the form of grants, only grants and not prizes, it's important also to mention. And the maximum amount to be granted is of 50k euros. So we don't go up to 60, which is a standard Horizon Europe rule. We stay up to 50k. And of course, we list all the activities that they can offer in the open calls. Something that is important is that the beneficiary providing this third-party financing is an entity eligible for 100% of the reimbursement of the eligible cost. If it is a beneficiary having 90%, apologies, yes, it can be 90% for the for-profit entity in C, then it would be a problem to reimburse the 100% cost. So we would like to draw your attention to this point. And last point here is that solutions from next projects are not eligible for funding. We expect that they already integrate some resources so that they can use this new infrastructure that will be evolvable and will apply for the continuation of the SNS and the next phase of the SNS JU. Very briefly, a few important conditions, the project collaboration. Again, as in all previous calls, the participant of selected projects will be requested to cooperate very closely in areas of in topics of common interest, and they have to sign, all beneficiaries have to sign a written agreement, which is called collaboration agreement, and it is also referred in the model grant agreement in the Annex 5 of the MGA. So please pay attention to that. You need to participate in all the collaborative structures, the relevant boards, task forces, working groups. So we don't specify here exactly the topics of common interest, but you need to make sure and allocate resources for this project collaboration. And another important point for this call is the availability of training data sets for streams B and C. This is part of the open science provision as outlined in the general annexes of the Horizon Europe Core program. But here we also focus on the training data sets. So all data sets that are created in streams B and C have to be made available through a common repository to other SNS JU projects over the program lifecycle. And we are in the SNS program, we already have a repository, and this is something that will apply for the upcoming selected projects. So before we move to the Q&A session, a few words about the support, how we can provide support to the applicants and the brokerage platform that will remain open till the deadline for the submission of proposals. So first of all, if you have any question, question to the program, please feel free to use the form on our website or to use the contact email that we have, that we also have also in this specific form. Don't forget, before you pose your question, check the FAQ. You might find the answers you need, so you don't need to contact us. And we will try to keep it up to date always with the latest questions. In terms of Horizon Europe generic questions, you can see the funding and tenders portal FAQ. So you can see their answers to questions about submission of proposals, evaluation, and grant management that apply to all Horizon Europe. So for this, we don't have details in our FAQ. There is also a research and inquiry service. If you have questions that you cannot find in the funding and tenders portal, you can also ask this question in this service. And of course, we have national contact points that give guidance, information, and assistance to all the applicants. And we will have a presentation directly after the Q&A session. And we're very happy that they provide the first line of support for the applicants. As our program is standardization driven and standardization oriented, it was mentioned by all my colleagues before. If you want to include details about standards, please, these are two important links that you can consult, and you can contact, of course, the Sensenelec and the ETSI Research Help Desk to provide information about standardization and including the project proposal. The brokerage platform will be open, as mentioned. We have the brokerage event afterwards, but this is not the end of the collaboration, and we will use the applicants can use the brokerage platform to present your profile, the competencies, and your ideas, and search for potential, let's say, participants to team up with. For newcomers in EU grants, please note that you need to have a valid PIC identification in order to submit proposal. So I include this presentation from the Central Validation Service and the video that will guide you through the process to get a valid PIC. And before we close, of course, we have the proposal applicants that are trying to create proposals, but we will continue looking for new experts. We need to have new experts evaluate our calls. Soon we will have a new call for experts that will be published shortly in the next days. But note that we need strong expertise in all these areas of the call, so we will be happy to receive your applications. So that was all from my side, a bit later than expected, but I think it's important information for everyone. I have seen a lot of questions coming. Let me stop sharing. Let me check. I don't know if there is any raised, first of all, before going into the chat, I don't know if there are any raised questions. No, I don't see anything for the time being. So let me go through the different questions that were submitted during my presentation. Of course, thanks to the colleagues that have already tried to answer some of them. So, what is the expected number of projects to be funded under each call? I think we mentioned that one project per each stream. Expected average budget per project. This is also included in the tables in the call in the beginning of each call of each topic. Apologies. You can see all the indicative budget per project, but of course this is not restrictive. You can of course submit proposals of a lower budget than the highest indicative budget. So I see some expressions of interest and let's say also some points on the presenting the expertise and competencies. They're all very welcome, especially for the next the brokerage session. So one question that we receive, I think it's also in the chat, is the SME participation target meant in terms of a number of beneficiaries or in terms of budget grant? So it is in terms of budget, and this is also clearly stated in the FAQ. So we mentioned that this is a common question that we receive from applicants. Okay, so this is answered. So in C1, FSTP, can a consortium be composed by more than one SME? Is there an upper financial limit per open call project? Yes, Loiso, I think this is also mentioned clearly in the conditions. The upper financial limit per project is 50K. So I don't think we mentioned the number of participants in this project, but the 50K is the highest limit that you can ask per project. So there is another question regarding participation of partners from countries outside Europe, from so-called other third countries, South Asia, Malaysia, Singapore. Can such partners participate in the topics B1 stream C of stream C and the CSA, I guess you're referring to Margorzatas, and receive funding? The second question concerns participation in FSTP calls. Can partners from these countries participate in FSTP calls? So this is a very valid question. I see that the FSTP guide has been also applied, but in our case, we have restrictions based on 22.5. So you need to see the eligible countries that apply in this case. So for these topics, as mentioned in my slides, for C, B1, right? For B1, CSA 01, CSA 02, you need to consider the eligible countries, which are member states and associated countries. While for CSA 03, we open it also to OECD and Mercosur countries and India. So these are the rules that have to apply. If not, of course, there is a possibility for the 3 topics to have guarantees. So I invite you all to see exactly what are the possibilities also to include other countries by using also the guarantees if they're established in one of the eligible countries. Now, in terms of FSTP, indeed, we have to respect also these restrictions in the FSTP calls. So this is important, and we will this is something that we also need to mention clearly in the FAQ. So is it possible? Okay. The other, will consortia, yes, other question from Manfred, will consortia be obliged to do the ownership control assessment with FSTP participants? Yes, this is the answer. This is also related to my previous. This cannot be done by SNS JU or commission services, so it is probable that this has to be done. But the FSTP for stream C, there is no ownership control, if I'm not mistaken. So this is why we have fully open the stream C1, so no 22.5 applies. So for stream C, there is no need for ownership and control assessment. This is something I should have said earlier also to this question. But as mentioned in the slides, stream C01 is completely open and no restrictions apply. So that's why the consortia do not have to perform any OCA, any ownership and control assessment. So the FSTP guide states clearly that the eligibility conditions of the main call apply to the FSTP applicants. Yes, but there we don't. We have the standard Horizon Europe eligibility conditions. So another question: if an entity based in an associated country and member of 6GIA participated in SNS JU Call 1 and funding was received by the national funding body while the country was not associated yet, does this entity contribute to ICOP? And does this partner have to provide the CS and CCS? So this goes a bit into the details. So let's start from the CS and CCS. This applies to associated partners. So this will continue to apply in any of the SNS calls that we have. So if there is an associated partner not receiving funding from SNS JU or receiving funding from other funding agency, indeed, this has to be provided. Now, for this call, we have specific rules that apply. Regardless of the previous, what happened, in previous calls, you remember that in SNS JU Call 1, UK was not eligible at that time, so they had to be added as associated partners and have their own funding. But now this is not the case, for example. So UK is fully eligible, so they are considered beneficiaries, and they don't need to have a national funding body to support them. However, note that for the countries that are under transitional arrangements, like Japan, for example, for this call, they have to be considered as beneficiaries. And then we will see, of course, later when we have the gap process, if this arrangement is signed, then the Japanese entities will become proper beneficiaries and they will have the funding. If not, then we will enter into the scenario of associated partners. So for Switzerland, this is not the case. Switzerland is already fully associated, so they can participate as beneficiaries and are eligible for funding. Okay, any other question or anybody wants to raise a hand? Perfect. I think that anyway, we're a bit out of behind schedule, but I think this is an important session for answering to applicants. As mentioned many times, don't hesitate to reach us. There is SNS JU in case you have more specific questions on the specificities of our work program and our calls. Okay, so I think we can continue with the next speaker in the agenda. So now it is important to highlight the support that is available to applicants when preparing a proposal. So the next presentation will introduce the role of the national contact points and the available support services, explaining how the applicants can make use of these resources through the preparation process. So I would like to invite Manfred Halver, National Contact Point, Horizon Europe, IDEAL-IST representative, to take the floor. Manfred, please, you can start when you're ready.
Thank you, Pavlos. Thanks for the invitation. It's always a pleasure to work with 6GIA. And let me tell you, with the FAQ that you provide per call, there's little to do for us NCPs. So we're in the cluster 4 digital part, we're a bit jealous of your page because it's really excellent maintained. I get that you have my slides and will show them, or should I provide them myself?
Maybe you can, if you can try to share. I mean, it is possible to share. So if it doesn't work, of course, I can show them for you.
Okay, then let me find them really quick. Too many things open at the same time. So my presentation will be quite brief, I hope. But if you have questions afterwards, you can always get back to me or my colleagues. So I'm waiting 2 seconds, and I hope you can see my slides now.
Yes.
Perfect. So my name is Manfred Halver. I work for the Austrian Research Promotion Agency in Austria. I'm part of the network IDEAL-IST. We are the network, the European network and beyond Europe network of national contact points for Horizon Europe, specifically for cluster 4, the digital part. That also includes, for most things, the smart networks and services joint undertaking. So let's work. So we have 33 NCP offices or partners across the European Union and way beyond. Also includes, for example, South Korea, that are there to help you, the applicants, when you are interested now. You heard all the details of the course, and you are interested in now proposing your project adhere to the SNS joint undertaking. We could be the first to engage with, to get some feedback on your proposal, on your idea, to see if it fits the call, etc., etc. So we offer a lot of different services as national contact points specifically, but also as a network of national contact points overall. The network is offering, for example, informal proposal check ideas. So you can come to us, you get some feedback. If your NCP, for example, is not available at one point, you can come to the NCP network IDEAL-IST and get your idea checked and go back with this feedback to your main partners and discuss it with them. We can provide you with some call background information. This is less true for SNS because SNS is very open in everything and provides all the details already in the FAQ. So this is more for the cluster 4, where we talk to the European Commission as well and get some more details on how these topics came about and what's the background, what are the linked topics, linked projects, etc. But for SNS, you get all of this already with the joint undertaking. We also help you with the partner search. in this case, again, I would highly encourage you to use the SNS specific partner search and brokerage event, and not the generic one. But if you submit something for cluster 4, most of you might know that the call for cluster 4 digital is open in parallel until mid of April. Right now, you can get back to us and we will help you finding partners. We also have something that is called a topic tree. It's a dedicated web page that shows topics in cluster 4, in SNS and other attached joint undertakings. The links between those topics in time and in this very moment. So what are political links, where is the same policy applied, etc. So you can get a bit of more background for your proposal preparation. You can do your due diligence for the proposal setup. And we also offer full proposal check services. So before you submit, you can get in touch with us and we will get you some feedback on your proposal in the state that it is and where you could still make it a bit better. We also have a couple of online resources, for example, online courses. I encourage you to get in touch, to get to the web page, to the toolbox, and look at the services that we provide that are the same for SNS and for the main work program of Horizon Europe Cluster 4. For example, how to deal with the Horizon dashboard, what to make, what use to make of it, etc. For project ideas checks, this would be the QR code, and I'm sorry that the link is not on there, but you will get the slides after the presentation anyway on the event web page. We have a form that you can fill in, that you can also use to get in touch with possible key partners of yours to discuss the project with the NCPs or with your partners. So I will skip this in lieu of time. Here is a bit of a view what the topic tree can do. It's relevant background info, as I said. It's linked topics, linked events, linked projects from former calls, etc., where you can get to know what other projects do, where you see the direct links to the Cordis webpage, for example. You see who are the partners in those projects. Maybe you want to find some of them as your possible collaborators in your endeavor. And full proposal check I already mentioned, and that's it. So the main message that I want to give you is, if you have questions regarding the call that the FAQ don't answer and you don't want to immediately write to the SNS JU and you want to have a discussion with somebody, please get in touch with us. You have all the country contacts on our webpage. You can use our services. All of them are free of charge, of course. Yeah, happy to work with you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Manfred, for this informative presentation and for all the NCP continued support. So it is also important for us that you support all the applicants. I don't know if there's any question for Manfred. I don't see anything in the chat. If any, I don't see any raised hands, so I think we can conclude now. So this, yes, thank you again, Manfred. So this, I think this brings us to the end of the Info Day session for this call for proposals for the SNS in 2026. So now I would just like to thank all the speakers from SNS JU, the European Commission, 6GIA, and of course the IDEAL-IST network now, Manfred, for their clear and comprehensive presentations. And of course, all the participants for your attention and for the very, very relevant questions that you posted, that you raised during the Q&A sessions and in the chat. So I do hope that this session provided you with a very solid understanding of the objectives, the topic details, and all the aspects of the 2026 SNS JU call. and give you some ideas how you can contribute with your expertise in the, in this program and in the vision that we have in SNS JU as the European path to 6G. So we will now break for lunch. The brokerage session will start at 2 o'clock Central European time. So stay connected, because this will be also important for you. It will be an opportunity for you to present the ideas, the competencies, identify partners, and start building a consortium for the next wave of projects that are going to have in SNS JU. Just as a reminder, the presentations and the recordings will be published on the event page. All the questions and the answers that are relevant, of course, to all applicants will be integrated in the FAQ that we have for this call. Of course, you can continue your networking and the building of a consortia in the brokerage platform, which will remain open as a tool for all of you in the next 3 months. And of course, for any further questions, do not hesitate to contact the SNS JU team or your national contact points. So thank you once again. I look forward to seeing many of you in the next session, and I would like to wish you every success in preparing your proposals for our call. So enjoy your lunch break, and see you again at 2 o'clock. Thank you.